I don't see nothing on Twitter yet.
Not on Twitter yet. I don't have it on IG, but oh wait a minute, I do have it on IG. Oh wow, I've got on IG. Okay, so we are live on IG, guys. That's shocking.
I
Uh-oh.
didn't even think of that. Okay, that's it then. Okay,
Uh,
that's a whole nother crowd we need to grab to.
Yeah, this is new.
y'all got it already, man. Y'all big time.
We trying to get up there, Bo. We trying to get up there. That's all we trying to do.
Y'all making
We
it
try to get
happen.
we trying to get them boys a platform. That's really what we want to do. Just get them boys a platform. Y'all come
Right,
on here,
right.
say what's on your heart.
That's it. That's it. That's it. Within reason.
Yeah, within reason, within reason. We good on
Within
Twitter
reason.
now.
We got on Twitter.
Within reason.
Alright.
All right, so we
Are
good
we
there
live
on
on
Twitter.
Instagram? You got to see it on Instagram on my Instagram at all?
You see it on
Uh,
your Instagram?
Let me check.
All right, so we good there. Send this joint out to people. Say, hey, go on, pay attention.
Oh, okay. I see it now.
We're live. Okay, very good.
Yeah. We're definitely live. Live at 25.
Oh yeah, we in there then.
It's
Oh,
live.
we in
All
there
right.
then.
All right, very good. I'm gonna do a countdown real quick. We'll do this thing in five, four, three, two, and one. What is up, everybody? Thank you for joining us here on the Welcome Home podcast. I am your host, Famously Garnet, and I'm joined by my co-host Q.
What it do, y'all? What it do?
And in today's episode, we are joined by special guest, trainer,
Yes.
and coach AC Whaley in the house. My man has coached up a lot of big names out there, including some big time freshman names coming into this class from for the 25 class. Jordan Gidron, Donovan Murph, Malik Clark, AC Whaley. Welcome to the show, my guy.
What's up, fellas? What's up? I appreciate you guys for having me on today.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Another guy, another time. This been in the works for a while. This right here's been in the works for a while.
for
Mm-hmm.
sure. For
And
sure.
and and I'm glad we finally getting around to it because one thing, for the people out here that y'all don't understand, man, AC's been is one of those homegrown people that understand like what this is about here. Like what we trying to build here in South Carolina. And I truly believe we are definitely on the right path with it, especially with the group that just came in. So AC, tell these people about you, brother. Tell them everything they need to know.
All right, all right. Oh well, first of all, I'm Coach AC. Everybody know me for Coach AC. Out of Columbia, South Carolina. I've been training and coaching in the Midlands since 2015. Uh, Crazy part about how I started coaching was I started coaching. I was a PE major at University of South Carolina,
Mhm.
and I was trying to get out of having to do like teaching and doing my little studies for following a shadow on a teacher for a whole semester. So I ended up signing being a coach at Westwood High School under my former offensive coordinator, and so that was my way of getting out of that. And so I was coaching, giving back to the kids, and so I've been coaching since 2015. And I've been training, doing personal skill training and development since 2020, since the COVID year.
Mm.
One of my first clients being Zion Agnew and Chandler Robinson. Both are still active college football players right now as well. So start off with those guys during that COVID year. Obviously the gyms were shut down, couldn't go anywhere, but we had the entire garage with the weights, the bench, the squat. So I was like, well, y'all got to get active. I don't care about whether the gyms are shut down, the schools or anything. We gotta stay working and stay right, so you don't miss your shot, right? Because a lot of guys during that COVID year they missed their opportunity. It's a lot of guys missed some opportunities, right? Just because they missed out on the weight room. Um, it was like what you can have like 8 people in the weight room for
Yeah.
an hour,
And then
right?
you
We
got
talking
spread out, and you got spread everybody out
about
and stuff. Yeah, 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 yeah.
right. So we got 100 kids, right? So how are we gonna make that happen, right? And still have time for our afterlife as coaches. So
Hmm.
so I've been doing that, and then as of lately, things have kind of hit ground level as far as some of the talent actually being exposed at the collegiate level and showing some of those results as far as the work since 2020 and actually working on their individual skill set and game. So just a little bit.
I like that. I like that. And what position did you play, bro?
So I played quarterback at Richland Northeast. I graduated 2013. There's no one quarterback in South Carolina, number 13 player in the country. I mean, well, in South Carolina, my bad, overall, not in the country. Could compete with pretty much any of them in the country, though. So I like to consider myself one of the best as far as coming out of the Midlands, for sure.
Yeah. Good deal. Good deal. I love that, man. I love that. And so, with you being, from South Carolina and all those different things, bro, you understand the importance football, basketball, all those things meant to kids that grew up in South Carolina. Me, a kid that, grew up over there, Dutch Fork area,
Mhm.
you have original Northeast, FG with Chapin. And you understand what it means, not just for Friday nights, but what Saturday meant too
Right, right,
for with the university.
right.
And so when you see these kids and you like as you've been working, what are some of the things you've had to kind of tailor things to when it comes to teaching kids the routes, teaching kids all these things from what you've seen, not just when you were in college, but now that you have a new crop coming up and you understand the new world of what college football is. So what was the biggest adjustment you felt like had to happen?
So as far as the development side, right, we got to talk about that, because that's big, right? Especially in Columbia, South Carolina, the Carolinas, period, right? As far as being accessible to the things that we need, the tools, right? Having that relationship with Apex that I have with Coach Steven over there, having the sports performance side of things, right? So in high school, Coach Steven was my strength and conditioning coach at Northeast. Well, he used to pick me up at 5 o'clock in the morning and we used to work out, and I saw how important the details were, right? Because when a kid get to college, he got to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, get breakfast before his 5 a.m. runs, before his 6 o'clock meetings, his 7 o'clock lift, right? Then he got to go shower, get ready for class, right? Then he got to come back for meetings. Then we got to go, and it's 4 o'clock. Now I got to get those 10 hours a weekend that I got to get for study hall or whatever the requirement is at per program. And so in the Carolinas, we're overlooked, right? Lack of resources. And obviously, that results in lack of opportunity. And so when you have those three components where you're potentially saying, hey, look, we're setting our kids up for failure when we have that, right? And so you're talking about just about every athlete that comes through the Midlands, right? And so the biggest adjustment is making sure that they understand, right? A lot
Mm,
of us lack understanding. They have to understand everything that entails to be a great athlete, right? If you want to just play sports, right, don't worry about the trainer. Don't worry about getting developed, right? Just go out there and have fun and be safe out there, right? But
right,
if this is something that you're truly trying to pursue, and we're talking about only 3% really make it, right? We're talking about a small percent, right? And so we're talking about 2 to 3 players, a team that really go to South Carolina, right? We're talking about 2 to 3 people, right?
right.
Maybe,
You right.
right?
You
And
right.
so if we can kind of bridge that gap on how do we help these kids understand development, right? What do we really need, right? It might be a kid who he might need track, he might need basketball, he might need all of those. You got kids who might just need the sports performance side,
Mm,
which a lot more kids really need the sports performance side because they don't know how to move. They don't have hip and ankle mobility,
mm,
right? They can go out there and run any type of time. They can go out there and jump. They can go out here and do all these little things, right? But you tell them to stand straight up and down with their feet together and do a full squat and put their butt in their into their ankles. They can't do it because they lack range of motion, right? They lack hip and ankle mobility. When you squat, your knees go forward, right? So your shins are starting to go forward. That means that my ankle has a lot more range of motion versus those guys who, when they can't go no further, they come up on their toes.
mm.
Like just those little things, squatting properly, lifting properly. When I power clean from the ground, I want to have the bar close to my body. I want to lock my forearms out.
Correct.
These kids don't know how to. You see them muscling power cleans. They look just like this.
Right.
You're supposed to lock your wrists out like this when you power clean, right? So you go in
Correct.
there and you watch a kid power clean. Don't say nothing about their power clean and just watch their technique.
Mm,
95% of them are doing it wrong,
yeah.
right? It's no offense to none of the coaches or anything like that because they're still learning. I'm still learning, right? And so that's the objective and why we're in our roles and the positions that we're in. But we got to make sure we're tailoring to exactly what each individual kid need. Every kid, it's like okay, if I'm an offensive coordinator, I can't just say what plays I'm gonna run because
Correct.
I got to know my personnel first,
Correct.
right? And so those little things matter. All the little details matter: rest, eating, talking these kids through at night, right? A lot of kids are single parent households. A lot of kids are missing that guidance, that brotherly, fatherly figure, right? That just that true bond, right? That I build with my kids, right? That's the biggest thing that I implement is just the brotherhood, right? All of my kids support each other, right? That's one of the biggest things. Like it's not one kid that I train that don't know about the next kid. I don't care if we go to a smaller school or not. All right. Humble enough to make sure that we are continuing to build together and making sure that we are because they'll be in my position in 10 years, 20 years from now.
You're right.
Right.
You're
And
right.
so now we just created a chain instead of just one little moment. Right. We want to be bigger than a moment. We want to have a lifetime effect. When Coach AC is done coaching, what's the impact? Right. So I want to tailor to not just now, but I want to tailor to the future. Right.
And I
We
agree
want
with
to.
that, man. I agree with that. And like we talked about, and you know the neighborhoods we've grown up in, bro. You know you've we've seen it our whole lives, bro.
Mm,
And the biggest thing that I realized, even because even Jermaine O'Neal mentioned this as well, another person growing up in
mm,
the same ways we've grown up. At
mm,
the end of the day, the only way South Carolina's gonna get on the map is if South Carolina puts itself on the map. And
mhm,
just like what you're doing now, you're setting these kids up to understand. Even if they don't go to USC, even if you don't do this or you do that, the state is still right here. And the
yeah.
only way people gonna know is when they see you. So it's just like our parents have always taught us, you're a representation of us. When you leave our house, you're a representation of us. So just like if you leave the state, you still a representation of South Carolina. Because no matter what, 803 is in my blood. No matter
Yeah,
where I am, no matter what I do, 803 is in my blood. And that's the same thing with these guys that are going up and coming up now. And
for
that's the
sure.
important part of it. And so with this new generation, if you can name three things, like if you think through, like, I've because you've worked with these guys since 2020, and now you've had new guys come up and all this. What is three things you've noticed with this generation that our generation didn't have, but they have accumulated and it's advanced them to where they are today?
Hmm. Well, we can start with this, all right? Platform, social media, all right? That's number one.
Yeah.
They have the obvious. You can go and you go play on 7. You can go like myself. You can post your training videos every day and show your daily progression, weekly progression, monthly progression. You can go run track. You can go have the camera guy come out there for all your events. So that's number one, obviously. Then number two is having the coaches that are caught up with the times, right? Just it is what it is, right? We football transition, right? 90s, we were running back era, right? Emmitt Smith, Herschel Walker, right? Bo Jack, you can name it.
Demetrius Summers right here locally.
I mean,
Demetrius
right. We
right
can go
here.
to yeah, heavy running back era, right?
Yeah.
And then so now we're talking about we're in the mecca of wide receiver central,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And the motto is, I'd rather have 5 good receivers than an average quarterback, and we can go wherever, right? Than have a good quarterback with average receivers. You know what I mean? So, receiver room can impact. So obviously the development, the culture, and then the third one is we were more headstrong. This era is more they'll follow. It's a easy era to lead them, right? So having better leaders, right? Understanding the work ethic. A lot of these kids are putting in the work, right? We talk about Jordan, and we're talking about Malik, and we're talking about Donovan, we're talking about Mike Tyler, we're talking about this freshman crew, right? Brian Rowe, which we haven't gotten to it yet, but it's a reason why you're able to go to the high
Mhm.
school, go from high school to the SEC. That don't happen just because,
Mhm.
right? You had to work for that,
Yeah.
right? And then you're talking about now, you got, obviously 2 17-year-olds making that. That's a major leap. We're talking about going from high school to the SEC and you foregoing your senior season.
And we're talking
So,
about public high school, because you know
right,
as well as I do, AC, that's unheard of here, especially in South Carolina.
right,
Especially in Cola. That's
correct,
unheard of what
correct.
them two guys did. What them two guys did literally set a pace, and it's showing. It was a beautiful thing because they're not just showing 803 kids, they're showing the whole state, hey,
Right.
this can happen, but
Mm-hmm.
you got to put this in. You got to be able to do this because, AC, we know as well as anybody else knows, your grades got to be right.
Absolutely.
Your work ethic has to be 110%. Your work ethic has to be
Yep.
better than some of them kids that's on campus already. Why?
Yep.
Because you're doing something totally different than what they're doing. So
Yep.
you have to have the grades, the work ethic, and the mentality
Yep. And not to mention, you had to be completed with your 24 credit hours that you had to have by your senior
completed.
year. All right.
Completed.
All right. We're talking about two guys that were done by their junior year, and one that was done before his first semester of his junior year. That's insane.
That's all I'm
Talk about
saying.
buying in.
That's and that's a choice you because you got to think, man. We all know what senior year was like.
Mm-hmm.
You missing out on all the fun, all this other different things
Yep.
because it means that much to you,
Right.
and that's where you look at it. So before we actually talk about those guys, when you realize you had the gift that God gave you to help these guys go to the next level, what made you yourself jump in and be like, you know what? Because everybody, we need that one person to be able to do it. What made you jump in and be like, you know what? I'm gonna be that guy. I'm gonna be able to do it. What made you jump in and be like, I gotta be this person for these kids because I don't want them to get lost.
Right. Right. So just a little bit more in depth, which I don't really talk about a lot publicly, which but I don't have a problem with. My parents separated when I would think I was like fifth grade or so, and we were pretty much homeless. And football and athletics, my brother, he was in theaters, and my sister was 11 years older than me. And so growing up with a single mother pretty much half of your life or majority of your life, we were homeless from pretty much seventh grade, staying with my sister at my grandma's house and just trying to make things work. Didn't have a car, borrowing cars, borrowing rides, all that good stuff, right? And having times where my mom couldn't afford nothing to get me for Christmas, and I'd be like, Mom, like I never cried not once till this day, right, about those things. And I've lost my mom obviously years later, but during those times it was hard, but it wasn't hard, right? Because my mom was there. She never left us. She went through those hard times together. And so football and basketball and athletics and sports, which you see right here, I got my Kobe mirror right here, right? So
Kobe.
um it's a pedigree, right? And it starts with guys like this, right? When you got young athletes like myself where we're looking for inspiration, right? And social media being where it's at now, right? I follow Kobe on YouTube, watching him on YouTube. When we were going through our hard times, I would watch Eric Thomas when he first came out on the map, when he would do his little speakings for the athletic programs. And then I will always follow Kobe's game as far as like how he prepped his mind to go through whatever. And so going through those trials and tribulations as a young athlete, right, still came out being the number one quarterback. I was number 13 overall football player. I still had opportunity to go to college and live out what I wanted to do with this game, right? And so going through all those things, and then now fast forward, right? I'm like, man, I was the number one quarterback, and I never trained for quarterback till this day. I lied to you not. I've trained for quarterback one time my whole life, and that's by Princeton Shepard. Princeton Shepard trained me one time. That's the only training session I've ever been to as a quarterback. And I can throw the ball however you want me to throw the ball, right? So I'm like, okay, if I did this just following the game and the method of work, right, the mama mentality,
Hmm.
then first that's how we transition it to the kids, right? The mama mentality, right? That's a mentality, right? It's a mentality of grind, grit, and bust your behind and get where you're trying to go and be great. And then, obviously the struggles and stuff like that, being able to share my same pain with others who are going through the same thing, maybe worse. Right. Obviously, there's going to be plenty of kids that go through everybody go through stuff. And so instead of making a sorrow and being pissed off and all on social media about why I'm not where I should be,
Hmm.
right? Let's reverse that, take that energy, and we give it to these kids and make sure that they don't go without, right? So they might go without this, but I'm gonna make sure I do my best to fill that void. And so that's me. That's pretty
I love
pretty
it.
much in a nutshell
I love it.
of why I do what I do.
Makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. Makes
Yeah.
perfect sense. So now we can transition. So let's transition over to now we have a year that we talked about because a lot of people, if you guys didn't know, so when I met AC, I have a cousin, Jamar Creek. Shout out to my cousin Jamar and
Hey,
Divine Sports. I shout out to them. These guys
shout
do
out to the
some great
guys.
work. Shout out to
Oh
the
yeah.
guys, bro. So we met at the spring game.
Mm-hmm.
And so me and AC, we were chopping it up. We were talking about it. And our biggest thing was what can Lenore Sellers do this year that's going to bring in what we need the following year?
Mm-hmm.
And so we saw some things, and they said, we saw some things we like. We saw some things we like. Man, we gotta fix that before
Right.
September. So now that we've gone through the season, what did you see, AC, that was like, okay, Lenoris is really him?
Right. Right. Well, I think that goes without being said. I mean, the dude is a freak of nature, right? He's a unicorn.
You
I
don't
mean,
make them in the lab. You
you
got to make him in the lab, bro. Like,
man, like I mean, he can go. I mean, he obviously can make plays with his. I mean, Connor Shaw, right? Can extend plays,
hmm
right? He might not have 400 passing yards, but his 150 rushing yards going to be third and short,
hmm
fourth down situations, back against the wall, and he can extend the play, or it could be third and dang on 11, right? And because he's so athletic and gifted, he can extend plays. Now you add those guys to that stable. You're talking about you don't know what can potentially happen next year with those guys.
and that's the thing. So you bring in Brian Rowe, Jaden Sellers, his brother.
Hmm.
You bring in Murph, Donovan Murph. You bring in Jordan Gidron. You bring in Malik Clark,
Hmm.
and then you bring in Lex Cyrus. Which, if you've been living under a rock, Lex Cyrus was literally down the street and to the left from Penn State. Penn
Hmm.
State begged him to stay home, and that man still left and came down here.
All right.
And a lot of those guys will tell you, you don't get to play with a quarterback like Lenore Sellers every day. You don't. You don't
Right.
get to play with him.
Right.
It's very rare. You got a guy that can extend plays, who still has an arm on him, and now you have those guys come in. And so when you look at these receivers, because you've gotten to take a strong look, I know you've trained some, but you've also got to see some others.
Hmm.
What do you see with what you've seen with these guys? What have you seen with each of those players that has come in now?
Outside of the guys I train, all of them have their own niche to them, right? Right now it's obviously an evaluation, right? You're trying to see where guys are successful, trying to see where guys need work at, try to see where guys can be impactful for the season this year. Where do you really see guys fitting in? So I think from a coaching perspective, that's what I see. I see some good things. I see some bad things, right? I think that's just the nature of the beast, right?
hmm
But you kind of tailor through it, like we always talk about. How do you develop, right? How do we bring in these guys, and then how do we really make them useful? As far as, okay, we got some 17-year-olds, we got some eight, we got what? They got six freshmen,
hmm
right? If I'm not, five or six freshmen
Yep.
coming in. You talking about two other five or six or 17, right? Won't be 18 until almost 70%, 80% through the season,
hmm
right? And those 18-year-olds, someone won't be 19 until next year.
hmm
So you're gonna be young, obviously, right? So from a coaching standpoint, I'm taking all the good from those guys, right? It's no expectation for an 18-year-old at the SEC level besides get better, work, take advantage of the resources and the coaching, right? And soak it all in.
hmm
Now, if I'm 17, it's that time some, right? It's zero expectations for a 17-year-old. I don't have expectations for a 17-year-old at SEC level, right? So everything he does, you have to realize he's 17 going against a 21-year-old,
hmm
right?
22-year
So
old now.
22, 23,
Yeah.
24,
hmm
right? So we're like, yo, I wanna see the spurts of what I'm looking for. We're gonna take advantage of that. And then like Roe, I want Roe in space. I want Roe moving around. Right. I want Lex. I want him moving around. right? I want Mazio taking advantage of the middle, right? I want him getting on them linebackers, and I want him being crafty across the middle with his tempo route running, and I want him to take advantage of those linebackers. I want Nick taking the block off the top, right? I want Jordan and Malik. I want them finessing in and out, right? I want them running a lot of under overs, a lot of bang eights, right? A lot of fades, slot fades, right? Get them in those 3x1s at the number two, right? Kind of move them around and see where they can be useful as far as their big frame, speed, talent. Right now, Donovan, he'll be there in a couple months. When you put all those guys in the different flavor of what they can do, um, they can be special for sure.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, you've had a lot of just. I mean, like you and I when all these guys committed, we're like, this is. I mean, it's up there, if not the best wide receiver class that South Carolina's ever
Sure.
had. I mean, how you argue with a wall, right? I mean,
Right.
incredible talent across the board. Now, AC, with these guys, when they, reclassified Jordan Gidron and Donovan Murph, how surprised were you when that happened? I mean, were there a lot of talks before that? I mean, what kind of went into that whole reclassifying part for
Mhm.
them?
So I kind of inform my guys, which I inform all my guys in advance, right? Because essentially it's a game plan, right? Everything's strategy, right? The game has shifted. You can no longer wait till your senior year to be special, right? Unless you're 6'4", 210 pounds, right? You better be a freak of nature, right? Some of those things that you just cannot coach, right? So it's a game plan, right? For guys like Malik and Jordan, Donovan, when you're 6'2", 185 pounds as a 16-year-old, really 15-year-olds and 14-year-olds, they were that size when they came into high school, right? You just put the muscle and the lean on them, and they're rocking and rolling, right? So for them, it's a different game plan versus my more slotty guys, my guys who are 5'11", 160, 165. I'm going to have those guys stay for 4 years, right? I'm going to make sure that they understand that, look, you can wait yours out and be an elite guy in your class. But guys like Malik, Jordan, and Donovan, they need to be in college, and it's no offense, no disrespect to any high school program in the country. I'm not just reverting to South Carolina. Not one high school practice will add up and look like, I mean, outside of IMG Academy, we're talking about traditional public high school, does not look like the University of South Carolina practice, not even an accident, right? And so um it's for the better of their future when you're talking about kids at that size, the skill sets that all those guys bring. It's a no-brainer for guys that size,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And so that
Hmm.
Especially when you have a team who lacked it. So when you
mhm,
when you look back at it, we lacked the size last year
definitely.
outside of what Nick and Delvon Campbell, who,
All right.
man, that's another receiver. He doesn't get hurt a lot.
Yeah.
Ooh, AC. That would have
Right,
been
right.
that's
Yeah.
another one. You look at,
Right.
and so with the growing and it was the perfect timing also, AC, because we talked about this. Now you have Lenoris, who's had a full year in the
Mhm.
SEC. That makes a difference. A full
Right.
year of SEC ball, and he
Right.
was able to win 9 games with a
Mhm.
full year of SEC ball as a freshman.
Yep.
And now Nick Harbor, who's also going through the whole spring, who's
Yep.
never had a spring, who led your team in receiving yards. Now
Who's
he's
gotten
about to
much
get the
better.
tools.
Yeah.
Hey, AC, they
He's
didn't want to
gotten
hear
much
from
better.
us.
Yeah. He's gotten
Maybe you
much
could
better.
tell the people, AC, you've seen them. What have you seen? Since they don't
Coach
want to believe us, bro.
Coach Fury is doing an amazing job with Nick. I think it goes back to what we say, that development part, right? Having a coach who's done it, right, at the highest level. Coach Fury, leading the league in receptions, in the league, I think,
Hmm.
in maybe 03, 04.
Hmm.
So early 2000s. So you got somebody who now Nick can go in that room and believe in himself a lot more, seeing his coach who's done it, right? Now he can lay those eggs that he, had on his journey when he was a receiver. So now he can give it to Nick, and now you can really see it too, right? You can see where Nick's bought in, he's locked in. After practice, he's getting extra reps in, just working on his craft.
Man, that's what I love to hear. So now you look at this receiver room. A lot of what I see, because I myself have seen Donovan Murphy play twice.
Hmm.
Um, having a cousin that played ball, who's going to go play, D1 ball, ECU.
Mhm.
So I'm excited for him. I'm excited. Shout out to my cousin Steven Carty.
Steven.
I,
Yes,
lo- I
sir. Yes,
love
sir.
Steve. He's
Yeah.
he's got the
Happy
size.
birthday,
Another one.
by the way. It's his
Yes,
birthday. Yeah. Shout out to
yes.
Stevens. Happy
Shout out to
birthday,
my
brother.
cousin. Happy birthday,
Yeah,
bro.
man. Yeah, man.
So he's another one that you got to work with as well, who has that blend, who's literally that tweener that a lot of teams are looking for nowadays,
Hmm.
where he can play the receiver, but he can also get on that line and play tight end as well.
Right.
And so something I've always admired about what these cats have shown, especially I'm gonna say especially this 25 class, because I got to
Hmm.
watch them pretty intensely because of Steven.
Hmm.
When you watch that class, Malik Clark played Steven the first game. Rock Hill and
Hmm.
Riverboat played each other. I have never, in all the years I've been on this planet Earth, seen a high schooler catch bubble screens with 4 or 5 defenders right there and still get you a first down on a 3rd and long, on a
Dog.
2nd and line.
Dog work.
That's what Malik brings to the table, and it's not. And then this is the crazy part. Malik's specialty, in my opinion, is that fade route.
Hmm.
Malik will hit you with that move at the line, and if
Hmm.
he has enough space and he's going there, Malik's gonna get that ball.
All right. For
That
sure.
that was their special. That was the play they ran. If they were 20 yards in to score, oh,
Hmm.
Malik gonna get that fade.
Right. Right.
And so and you see that with him and Donovan Murph. A lot of people don't understand the difference between speed and game speed.
Hmm.
If you if you get if you want to look at some true game speed, you have to watch Donovan Murph play. And you
Hmm.
have to watch him play when the game's on the line.
All right.
Donovan Murph is a great player,
Hmm.
but he's different when that game's on the line and Brand needed a first down or
Lights his own.
them like and that's the beauty of you see these different guys doing that. Gidron might have been one of the most crazy kept secrets in Columbia at
Hmm.
Ridgeview. One of the most crazy kept secrets. Because the numbers he was putting up was astronomical. And folks was really just not talking about it. But I realize now why. They don't know SC football. When you know
Hmm.
SC football, Ridgeview's always been a good team. You just had to go out there and see. They got another receiver coming up after him.
Hmm. Darius Carter.
That's what you have so much talent that's there. And the thing is with it, it's those routes. It's the route running and their tree that they're bringing to there. Because to me, you can see when Mike Fury was asked about that group, you saw his eyes light up.
Hmm.
Because what it was just what you talked about, AC. It's development. But you can see the development between Donovan Murph's sophomore year and Donovan Murph junior year. Oh my gosh.
Hmm.
It was like he was like, you know what? It was like somebody played the tape. Hey fam, so this is what you just need to do. That's all I needed. And he was like, and then he left and did that. And so that's why I say, AC, when you train these guys, what was the light bulb that came on for especially those 3 guys that you've seen? What was that light bulb?
So when I first started training Jordan was what 6'1", 175 in 8th grade.
Insane.
So I was like, I said, Lord, he gonna be a problem. He gonna be a problem. I said, Baby Julio is what I call him. 'Cause I really feel like all of them are different. Like
Mm-hmm.
people like to ask me, it's just the question I get all the time: Who's better? Who's better? It doesn't matter when all three of them playing together.
That's all I say. Hey, when that happened, that's all I can say. When that happened,
I,
when you said that, I'm telling y'all,
I can care less
hey,
about
when
who's better when
when
you
he
got
said
those
that,
type of
it was
talent.
over. It was over when I said, hold on. You mean to tell me he said, hey, just watch. And
Bruh.
when all 3 of them came together, I said, ain't no way. I said, ain't no way. I texted him, I said, ain't no way you pulled this off. I said, ain't no way you pulled this off. No way. Because at the end, it's just like you said, all 3 bring something crazy special to this room.
Oh,
All
definitely.
3.
Listen, I'm an OC right now. All of them know. I tell them all the time. Donovan's gonna be my slot. He gonna be routing people up across the middle. I'm moving him around, and then Malik and Jordan 1-on-1 outside, and then I can intertwine all three of them when I want to. But primarily, that's my look. I want my two fast guys who running 10-8, 10-5s, and 10-6s. I want them outside taking the top off, and then I want Donovan on the linebacker punishing them because now the run game is more effective, right? When you got guys who can, right? You're gonna literally have to have 6 DBs at all times for 3 people. 6 because that linebacker in trouble,
He in big
Mm-hmm.
right?
trouble.
So the linebacker's in trouble, right? So he needs over the top safety help, right?
And then you
He
got a
ought
receiver that has safety size. So what are you going to do when your receiver that's coming at your linebacker too fast for him? Now you
yeah,
the safety had to come down, but you know for a fact if you try to get physical with Donovan, oh, it's just it's gonna be a
right.
problem.
Well, it's just the fact that it's just going to be a clear difference between a bona fide outside receiver who has great finesse to his game, putting him on a linebacker. And then like just think about level concepts as just far as the speed with Nick, Donovan, Jordan, and Malik out there, all 4 of those receivers. Then you intertwine Mazio, the slot guys, and Brian Rowe, and just let them eat as far as running reverses and taking the linebackers east and west when we put them in motion and stuff like that on jets and zooms or whatever you want to call them. I mean, whatever they call theirs. But as far as just the north south, you got 4 guys who are 6'2" or taller. You got Nick, you got Malik, you got Jordan, you got Donovan. So you got 4 guys you can line up outside at any time you feel like it. And then you just pull and plug your slot, whoever you want that slot. You can choose Rowe, Mazio at one session. You can have Jared. I mean, now they get to utilize the depth because of the talent, right? Now you get to say, hey, look, all right, I want Jordan at Z, I want Malik at X, and I want Donovan at Y. Right? Well, whoever the H is, he's just gonna have to get in where he fit in, right? Or I might say, hey, look, I want this guy outside. I want, right? You just get to pick and choose how you want to utilize it from series to series. So every series is different, right? We might be up. Well, I'm probably gonna have my bigger receivers in because we're probably gonna run the ball. All right, we down. Now I gotta mix and mingle my lineup now. So after I break the huddle, Jordan, Donovan, Malik, and Nick, they might be X on one play. Every time they break the huddle, they'll be at a different position. Now, how you can deal with
Good luck.
And
good luck
and
with
you're
it.
and your quarterback is Lenore.
Hey, and that
Yes.
running back certified. He got my blessing. He's
Oh,
certified.
Faison?
He's certified.
RB1. I'm telling you, get cute. I'm telling you, that's RB1, bro. I'm
Hey,
telling you.
hey, he certified. I don't know at the tight end position this year they're going to be great. So I think with the depth at receiver with the size, I think you'll see you're going to see some 11 personnel, but you're going to see a lot of guys and you're going to see them in a lot of 10, but maybe utilizing Nick. You know what I'm saying? Potentially. I don't know
Well, you
who
still
might
got
be
Michael Smith. He's hurt, but I know he
Mike
gonna
Smith.
be certified. Yeah,
Right,
the one that was a
right,
freshman last year. That boy could play too.
right. I forgot
That
he
boy,
hadn't been playing. That might be
yeah,
what it is.
yeah,
Okay, so
that
yeah,
boy
yeah.
right
So
there. Woo,
He's
that
yeah,
one.
ready.
so
He's
Yeah,
ready. Hey.
but man, but see, that's the thing I want people to understand because that's what I was telling folks. While last year hurt, it tells you exactly where I told you guys we need to be.
mhm,
If Shane got to that 9, if he was on the cusp of the playoffs,
mhm.
I said that was going to be a game changer for everything else. That was everything else. Because just like I tell you right now, I guarantee you, Brent Billman wouldn't want to play Shane right now. Illinois wouldn't want to play Shane right now.
Oh, definitely.
He
If
wouldn't
you had
want
to
to
run
play
that
him.
back, he probably winning 11 games. We make the playoffs. It's a different story for sure. But
That's what that's what you see. And the thing is, and a lot of people are saying, well, the defense may take a step back. I told people, I said, one thing about this defense is when you have a bona fide edge rusher as
Hmm.
you do in Dylan Stewart,
Right.
who came off the year he had as a freshman. And it's not just about the year he has as a freshman. It goes exactly back to what I said about Lenore's. You know well as I do, AC, nothing beats in-game experience. There's not one thing in life that beats in-game experience.
Absolutely.
But the top of the game in-game experience you can only get in college is only one or two places: the SEC or the Big Ten. Those
That's
are the
it.
only two places you can get. And really, it's top heavy in the Big Ten. It's really a top heavy situation in the Big Ten. In the
Right. Right.
SEC, it don't matter where you go. Them
Right.
crowds gonna go crazy.
Right.
So when you get that experience both with Dylan, because Dylan even said it himself, y'all got me on that run game last year because I
Hmm.
wasn't physically where I need to be. But then I saw Dylan and how much bigger he is now.
Man.
Hey man, hey man, because I know
Yeah.
you was there, you saw the scrimmage, you
Yeah.
saw
I
how big that
saw.
man is.
Yeah, he's something else, man. That dude is a number one overall draft pick. You're a walking first round draft pick.
And then you
N-
got Josiah Thompson, who the game done slowed down for now too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you might have lost some pieces, but I think that young talent is, again, we go back to the word development, right? Carolina didn't really eat up on the portal, right? A
They
lot of
have
these
to.
guys are high school guys,
They that's
and
it.
you we go back to
Yep.
talking about the landscape of how high school football is, right? So just think about the Gamecocks, right? Give you a fun fact. I think 13, if I'm not, don't quote me exactly, but 13 of the top 15 receivers in South Carolina Gamecock history are from South Carolina.
I believe it. I 100% believe it. Think about
You
it.
know what I mean? So you're talking about that's just the culture, right? That is just legit the culture of Gamecock football. And always we've been our best and we've been at the peak of the valley, right? When we have in-state talent, right? You go back to those days where we were on a run from what, maybe '09 to 2013. When you had Marcus Lattimore, you had Brandon Wiles. Shout out my boy Brandon Wiles, that's my cousin.
Yes, sir.
Um,
That's my boy right
uh,
there.
Hey.
top 50 game caught right there.
Yeah.
Jarrell Adams, you had Alshon, you had
Stephon
DJ,
Gilmore.
Stefan, you had
Victor
the
Hampton.
Dixon, Vic,
Vic,
Hey.
Vic
they
a
don't know
fool.
about Vic.
They don't
AC,
know
they
about
don't know
Vic.
about
Hey,
Vic.
They don't know
shout out
about
to
Vic for
Vic.
sure.
Vic's still playing football, man.
Darlington owned. I'm
I
trying to
saw
tell
that.
people.
I saw
Yeah.
that. I
I
saw that.
told people, man. I told
Yeah.
people if Victor Hampton was on that 2010 team, that would have been something different, bro. Victor
Talking about when
Hampton is
the
him.
year they lost to Auburn.
Yes,
Yep.
The year they lost to Auburn. Yeah. I
I'm telling
mean,
you,
heck no. Had Connor Shaw been a year early,
that's true too.
because
That's true
that
too.
was when we kind of, we had Steven that year, right? So
Steven had his moments though. Steven had his moments. He
If
had
he
some
had
good
I,
his,
I
games.
if you
he
had
was a
Steven today at that focus he has today with that what he had back then, hey, hey, man,
hey, but Steven was living a hell of a life.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
He was. He was.
yeah.
Hey,
Right? He was
hey,
My boy
I tell you
Steven was
this.
living a hell of a life.
Steven,
So,
I look, we almost beat Auburn in the plains, and it wasn't Steven's fault we lost that game. It was more Alshon dropped that touchdown in the end zone, if I
I'm,
remember correctly on that
yeah,
one.
we definitely was a couple plays here or there,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
But I definitely think Connor would have been that dynamic that he was in that 11, 12 year where he with his feet, man. It was just some
Yeah, a lot
plays
more
that he.
mobile. Yeah.
Yeah, I
I,
mean, Steven had an arm, but it was the extended plays,
Hmm.
I tell people all the time, and FG will tell you, AC,
Mhm.
the most talented team we've ever put on a field is definitely that 2011 team. That was
Oh,
the
for
most
sure.
talented team, and that was a natty
Ah,
championship team. And
I,
this is why I say Jadavian is the difference maker in the situation.
all right. I'm gonna give you the time frame. I can't remember exactly what years, but during that time where they had Kenny McKinley, they had Troy Williamson,
Oh yeah, that's true.
Sidney
Oh
Rice,
yeah, that's
led
true.
by Eric Norwood, Brian Stewart,
That's true.
right?
That's true.
Jonathan Joseph. I mean, they were loaded, bro. I
They were
can't. I
nasty.
can't out. You had Demetrius Summers in the backfield. If Demetrius stayed out of trouble, you still had Mike
That's
Davis.
true.
You had
That's
C.J. Boyd. I don't know, bro. It's tough. The quarterback play would have been the difference
I
because
think that
Blake
I think that true. But I think those two
quarterback play would
teams
have been the
though,
difference.
you got to be real.
Yeah.
Those two teams were national contenders. And
Oh,
that's
for
what I
sure.
and that's what I tell people. Like I talked to other fan bases and I was like, I promise y'all, if the college football playoff would have been a thing in 2011, I think Spurrier would have carved everybody up, and we would have had our natty
Right.
in 2011. I think we would have had our natty with Jadavian's freshman year. We still had
If
Melvin. We still had Taylor, Devin Taylor. We had the linebacker core
right.
of what you call it
Shaq Wilson,
Shaq Wilson.
Devontae Holloman,
You had Holloman. You
Yeah.
had some players.
Like
DJ Swearinger,
you had a
Gilmore,
young
all them.
Sky Moore. You
You
had a
had
young
Tony
yep,
Sky Moore.
Allen,
yep.
Yep. Yep.
So you
Scott
had
Moore.
you had those guys, and
Right.
the offense. The offense was there. Especially if Marcus Lima would have been healthy, but you still had Mike
If he
Davis.
if Marcus never gets hurt,
Oh yeah,
we're talking about potentially at least coming out of there with one SEC championship and a
I think
natty
so
for
too.
sure. If
I think so
Marcus
too.
never that first year he got hurt, was it here against what? Uh Tennessee or
No,
something?
that
Tennessee.
was the last time he got
Yeah.
hurt.
That
That
was the
was that
last
last
time.
year. Yeah, I
So who's the
remember that.
first time? It's Arkansas,
Mississippi
Mississippi
State.
State, wasn't it? Yeah,
Mississippi
Mississippi
State.
State.
Okay,
Yeah.
I knew it was a Garden school. So
Yeah.
if you take away that first year, that was 2011, right?
Mm-hmm.
He got
Yep.
hurt.
Yeah, 2011 he got hurt. Yeah.
That was the year. Okay, because his freshman year was
2010 where he went
2010.
2010
crazy.
when we lost Auburn in the SEC championship, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
So if you take away that injury that year, he was on pace to win the Heisman that year, if I'm
he
not
was.
mistaken.
He was. He was.
He was on pace to be a Heisman Trophy. Remember they
And
had
I want to
dropped.
say he was on pace. What was it? 1,500, 1,600 yards
Oh, definitely.
rushing.
Oh, yeah, yeah. He
Yeah.
was. You talking about a walking Heisman Trophy, walking
Yeah.
first round, walking right everything, right? He would be just retiring right now.
True. This is a
Yeah.
true statement.
Yeah. Yeah.
This
because
is a true
because he runs
statement.
behind his pass. His game would have had longevity behind it because he runs like Frank Gore. Frank Gore played in the
Mhm.
NFL for 20 years. Top
Mm-hmm.
three
Yeah.
top three running back. Well, I think he's number 2 all time now behind
Right.
Emmitt Smith. Right. So the way Marcus ran the ball back in the day, man, it was more. It gave definitely behind his pass. He didn't have to be flashy. You didn't have to worry about him planting and cutting, making all these fancy moves. He's gonna get you 5 to 7 yards a carry,
Every time.
and he's finishing forward every run.
Every time. And
Yeah.
you're
Mhm.
right. But that those two teams, I for sure believe those especially that era with Kenny McKinley and them. And we've had talent. That's what I tell people.
Hmm.
South Carolina has had talent, and especially we can move to this NIL era.
Right.
I personally think Shane Beamer has handled the NIL era extraordinarily well
Hmm.
with the way he's been able not just keeping players, but bringing the quality players. Look at the last year's portal class and their impact
Hmm.
with Cal Kennard. He brought him in before any of the big schools could get on board. He brought him in, and
Hmm.
look what it did for Cal. It
Right.
literally skyrocketed him. Look at what he did for Rocket Sanders.
Yep.
That's what that I just think the NIL era, when you look at that, how do you help your guys balance between, hey, there's bigger opportunities up there, go do that, and hey fam, stick this out because I'm telling you this is you're gonna be here. You're gonna get
Well,
this
it's
right.
an easy decision, right? It's an easy
Yeah.
explanation. There's no rocket science to it. Jamar Chase signed a 4 year, $165 million, 117 guaranteed or whatever. T. Higgins just signed a 4 year, $117 million with 90 something guaranteed. Oh, and I think his was fully guaranteed
Hmm.
or whatever, right? So we want to make $2 million, or we want to make 30, $40 million a year.
It's true.
So you better make it make sense, right? You use
Mhm.
that money to make investments, right? Apex ain't free, right? Sports
No.
performance, these coaches, Exos, the going to Texas. I don't care who you train with, right? It's not free,
Hmm.
right? And so you have to understand that use that money to invest in that 30, $40 million a year you're trying to make. Right. So if you're gonna sign a $1 million deal, you need to be investing $300,000 a year into your body,
Hmm.
whatever that looks like, whether that's paying for you $100,000 a year to have a freaking chef I don't care. That chef better come cook it up for $100,000,
Mhm.
right? A year. And so it's just being realistic, right? Now, it's the other side to it, right? You're gonna have now where you're gonna look at the game because of NIL. You're gonna have for lifers when it comes to college football. So you're gonna have all-time college great athletes, right? So you go back and I'll use Greg Oden, great example. Never really
Very
panned out in the NBA, but when you go back to that Ohio State, he was the best player in the
on the
country
on the on the floor every year, every game. He was the best player
every
on the floor.
game, right? So you're gonna have guys like that in college where you can be a for lifer college guy, or you're gonna be a guy who has NFL aspirations. It's just like with development with the high school kids. You got every kid ain't gonna be a college athlete. That's just reality, right?
Hmm.
For every kid that has the measurables, the frame, the will and want to be a college athlete, then we can work with that, right? But those guys who are realistically, if you're not going D1, it's gonna be rough, right? D2 is the stepping stone. It's a whole nother layer to it now. It's
Hmm.
no longer okay. You just got lost at D2. No, that's where they're picking from. That's where the G5s. That's what they're picking. They're hand picking from the D2. They're now going into a funnel. Everything's going to be funneled. You're going to have FBS one, right? You're gonna have FBS two level two, right? You're gonna have your G5s, you're gonna have your FCSs, you're gonna have your D2s. So every level above that is gonna be looking below that level.
Hmm.
Now, what's the point of a FBS or FCS? Let's use FCS. What's the point of an FCS looking for a high school wide receiver when they just had 15,000 yard receivers in Division Two?
Hmm.
That's
Right.
facts.
Hmm.
So now you have to change. The layout has changed, right? Just like they're saying about the JUCOs. Now you're going to have guys coming into college as freshmen at 22, 23 years old, right? So
And yeah, yeah.
all of that changes. Not just the money, the layout. So
Everything. And that's what these kids have got to
Yeah.
realize, and that's why I admire Shane, because what Shane's realizing is I still want my South Carolina kids, no matter
right,
what the circumstances are. I still want my South Carolina kids,
right.
and that's why I feel like Shane's on the cusp, bro.
Right.
Especially if you're able to keep funneling this and keep making this work. Shane's on the cusp, bro.
South Carolina sells itself,
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes,
We don't
sir.
have so I think South Carolina, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State are the only three SEC schools one of the only three SEC schools in all of the SEC that don't have a Fortune 500 company in that state.
Mm.
Right? You look at it. Memphis got FedEx, 25 million. All right. Tennessee got Flying J. We talking about day and night, right? We talking about just two of them. We're not talking
Yeah.
about all of them. I think the state of Tennessee got about 17 Fortune 500 companies. So every school, Vanderbilt can be. You see Vanderbilt, they're refurbishing. They upset Bama, right?
Mhm.
So that means
Hmm.
that money is making that happen because Vanderbilt ain't beat Alabama since the '60s, right? Talking about almost
Sure.
existence,
Mhm.
Sure.
Yep.
or since the merger of NCAA football. So
Yeah.
the landscape is completely different, man. And so you have to count that in. And so the Gamecocks, since before it's a tradition to get those in-state guys, right? You can go back to Corey Jenkins. Shout out to Corey Jenkins, hometown
That's
guy,
the
right?
dude right there.
A
That's the
legend,
dude right there.
right? So guys like that, straight from Columbia, South Carolina, right? It's a repeated history. Alshon Jeffrey, Sidney Rice, right? Brandon Wiles,
Shaq
Marcus
Rowland.
Lattimore, Shaq
Sh-
Rowland, right? All of these guys are from South Carolina,
Mhm.
right? So
Yeah.
it's Shane. No disrespect to Muschamp, but Muschamp came in and tried to get away with that, and that's kind of why we were in a slump and a downside. Shane came back and regenerated that and revamped that module of understanding we got to win our home state guys first, right? Clemson is going to
Facts.
recruit out of state. Clemson is going to recruit Florida, Georgia, and Texas. Those are the three
Cool.
states Clemson is going to recruit. They're not
And
really
that's what I tell
worried
them.
about South Carolina, and so you got to be that guy for South Carolina. I mean, as far as in South Carolina for Clemson and Offie, but South Carolina, they're gonna go after the in-state. I'm not saying our guys are not that guy. It's just they recruit differently, right? They go after the stars over there. South Carolina go after homegrown talent. Can you play in the SEC, right? Flat out,
That's it.
because it's day and night, right?
That's
It
Um,
it.
is. It
so it's,
is.
it's, it's a different beast to it, man, for sure.
It's that's all true, and You look at these guys going to the NFL right now. South Carolina's had a plethora of them. You look at Nicky Manwari, he's about to go first round.
Debo.
He's got,
Yes, sir.
yeah, and, yeah,
Yes,
you're
sir.
like, AC, you were there at the NFL Combine. We're 17 days away from the NFL Draft. Talk about what it was like to see Nicky Manwari, put on a show out in Indy.
Oh man, that was crazy to say the least. I think it's surreal more so to say because, like, man, like he's from Columbia, South Carolina, or Irmo, South Carolina, but to know that another homegrown talent sets the bar, right? When Clowney went there, he ran a 4.340 or 4.440 at as a D lineman, right? Talking about the fastest 40 as a D lineman at the combine. Now you talking about Nick, he go and he does the exact same thing, right? Talking about in-state homegrown talent that went to South Carolina, only played at South Carolina. That's one thing that a lot of our Carolina guys will be able to say. They didn't play for 4 or 5 different teams.
Facts.
Carolina guys stayed at Carolina, who get drafted, right? So, but it was
Xavier
it was
Leggett. Xavier Leggett,
Xavier
another
Leggett,
one.
right, right. I mean, it's the list to go. I mean, any player we can name
Yeah.
in Carolina history as far as in-state talent. I mean, they got drafted. They were in-state. They were at South Carolina just for not a whole bunch of schools.
Yeah.
But no, it was definitely great to see Nick do his thing, man. I wish the platform was even bigger for us, so they would notice more guys like Nick and like Jadavion earlier, right, and not wait till his sophomore, junior year, which obviously guys knew about Jadavion. But fun fact about Jadavion in high school, he was a running back his ninth grade year.
Mhm.
He
That's
didn't even play
crazy.
D line, right?
That's
So,
crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, his high school film is one of the most disgusting things you'll ever see in your life. It's
a man
unreal
amongst
what he's
boys.
doing.
That's it.
Yeah,
That was it.
but
And,
yeah.
and I love how the game has grown because one thing we've noticed is the influx of talent that has started coming into South Carolina because they
Hmm.
know it's it's serious. It's serious ball here. It's
Hmm.
serious to play, and so I think we're on that upward trajectory. And so we talked about Fury a little bit, but what have you noticed when you've seen Fury and what he's done with guys? What is your thought process on Fury?
Attention to detail. You know what he's looking for. You know what he's looking at. Um, and the little things matter, right?
There we go.
Coaching you up every day,
That's what I
and
need to hear.
and coaching you up through life, right? Making sure that you got all the things you need on and off the field. So he wakes up every time I look on Twitter, it could be about 5:30 to 6:30 in the morning. I mean, he's up before the crack of dawn, right? And you're talking about he's already tweeting, and incorporating God in his life and things of such, which a lot of our kids need in this generation as
Hmm.
well, right? Just having some
Absolutely.
faith, some leadership,
Hmm.
you know, regardless of which way what you wanna believe in, it's just having some faith and believing in something, right? And
Yep,
so he's teaching culture, pedigree, and giving guys a reason, right? So leading by example.
I love it. I love it, man.
Yeah,
And AC communication too, that matters too, right? Especially in the recruiting trail.
Yeah,
definitely. Oh,
that cat communicate. That man Fury, he gonna communicate. Now, that cat
for
gonna
sure.
communicate. He gonna communicate, man. Can't say that for everybody, but I know for a fact Mike gonna
Ah,
communicate. That's all
y'all
I'm gonna
are
say,
so
AC.
silly, man.
Man, I just know Mike
Hey,
communicate. And correct me
what
if
But
I'm
see,
wrong, AC. He communicate. Now Mike gonna communicate with you.
hey, look, it's a little bit of communication going on out there. I don't know too much. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I just know Mike communicate. That's the only thing I know. Mike communicate,
hey,
man.
Hey,
things just
look.
some petty things happen after the Illinois game. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's all it is. So it's cool. But I love my coach that communicates, and that's what
Oh,
Mike do.
hey, look. I
Fury.
appreciate Coach Fury, man.
Yeah,
Because a lot of coaches, obviously, as you guys know,
yeah.
they don't like to communicate about good talent. But Coach Fury did a great job at expressing his interest in those guys. He didn't hesitate. And I appreciate that, right? From a trainer to a coach
Hmm.
to mentor, and making sure that I'm seeing things through as far as helping these kids, guide them in the best relationships, making sure that, hey, look, these coaches are not trying to just oversell you, right? Making sure that I can be the decipher between that and make sure I can at least help guide them in the best way. And having an open communication with Coach Fury, kind of make things even easier to help influence my guys to know that, this is the best opportunity for you guys to play together and make history, right?
Oh, Oh, bro,
They get to make
history.
history, man.
Oh, history.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
for them, what they did, I was expressing it to one of my guys. I said, as a native of that city,
Mhm,
what those three kids did
mhm.
has never been done before.
For real. You
They
never had
literally, they literally had that combo and said, "Hey, fam, we finna do this."
right,
And this
right.
the crazy part. Y'all gonna have to deal with it for at least 3 years. At
Minimal,
least
minimal,
minimum three
minimal three.
years, bro.
Yeah, minimal.
three
Yeah,
years. And
yeah.
and don't think it's gonna drop because of Lenore's after Lenore's. Nah. Aaron Nolan got an arm on him. And Cutter Woods too.
Hey, Cutter. Shout out
Hey,
to Cutter Woods. That boy can spin that peel. I
Mm.
witnessed him on Saturday. He
that
was moving the chains.
all I'm gonna say is this, AC.
He was moving the chains, brother. That boy, hey, by week 4 or 5, if they throwing the ball 25, 30 times a game, Cutter Woods probably gonna be the one doing it. You didn't hear that from me.
Hey man, I'm gonna
That
say
boy,
this.
he
I,
can spin it.
I'm gonna say this.
They might be doing two-back system. I don't
Hey,
know.
hey,
He
hey.
can spin it.
All I know is this. At the
Mhm.
end of the day, Twitter better pray to God Shane don't get no title. Twitter better pray to
Listen,
God Shane don't get that
I don't
title.
think nobody is ready for the University of South Carolina and Carolina Gamecock fans to win anything like that in football because they'll
What's
have to
gonna happen?
shut the state down.
They gonna
They
have
ain't
to
going. We won't just have to shut Columbia down. They're gonna have to shut the
shut the
state
state down,
down
Yeah.
because we gonna
boy.
tear them streets up.
All the AC. What I'm gonna say on that Twitter on that their app on X, I'm
Man,
patting people be like, I remember you told me Shane could never do this. Shane should have left. And look at this. I'm telling you, that's gonna
if
be Shane is building the right way. And you know what? I believe coaches know he is. I
if
believe
anybody
coaches
can do it,
really
he can.
know.
Honestly, if
Mhm.
anybody can do it, he has the right because you can see that Shane is there to be a head coach.
Bingo.
His offensive coordinator is the offensive coordinator. His defensive coordinator is the defensive coordinator. His wide receiver coach is the wide receiver coach. His he's allowing his coaches to coach.
Hmm.
And I mean that staff they got together with Coach White, and that defense, man. I mean, I've sat through some of those clinics with just listening to how he coaches up the defense. He's a problem for offensive coordinators, and you can see it. And they're gonna really see it this year because now Sellers don't those plays that he had to extend with his legs. Now he can continue to extend them with his legs, but his eyes can remain downfield.
Talk.
Right.
Talk.
Last year, the guys were a little shorter, and it's no knock to him. But having some size, having a little bit of those 6'2" frames, and having a multitude of 6'2" frames. Right now, you're sitting at four guys 6'2" or better. Nick's sitting at 6'5". Right, so you got three guys 6'2", one of them 6'5". We talking about an average height of 6'3". Right,
Then
so
you got a 6'6" tight end in Mike Smith.
right,
Mike
right,
Taylor 6'5". Like
right.
you see even Jordan Dingle that came from Kentucky. That's another 6'4",
Yeah.
6'5" guy.
Yeah.
What you and I was telling people that everybody wants to hype up Lagway. And you can do that because he's a great
The
player.
Florida quarterback.
Yeah. He's a good player. Good guy. Good kid. Good kid.
I'm sick of Florida right now.
Yeah, but what you're not gonna be able to sell, what Lagway does not have that Lenore's does, is
Hmm.
now Lenore's has the experience because everything that
Right,
Lenore's don't get hurt against LSU, we in the college football playoff.
right.
Lenore's didn't have freshman mistakes against Alabama, we in the college football playoff.
Yeah.
You saw where the
Hmm.
things lacked, and Lenore's has already said it. He said, I've watched all my tape.
Right.
He said, I
He's
saw
a
where the mistakes were.
he's an elite college football player. Football. I say football player because he's dynamic, right? When we talk
Mm-hmm.
about sellers, you got to throw him in the conversations with your Lamar Jacksons,
Mm-hmm.
your Cam Newtons, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's going to throw for a lot of yards, but he's going to run for even more,
Yep.
right? He's going to make plays in the run game, the play actions. He's going to be able to extend plays, right? He's going to be a part of the run game, right? So you pretty much last year, Coach Beamer exposed the SEC with a dynamic quarterback and choosing to say, hey, look, we're just gonna instead of trying to Bama, aka Bama, we want to turn Milrow into a passer. Beamer was accepting of the fact that okay, we don't have a lot of receivers. All right, cool. we're gonna make the best of it. That means we're gonna start splitting carries with these running backs. We're gonna start splitting carries with the quarterbacks. So you're talking about you running the ball 40 times a game between four people, right? He just used what he had and he took advantage of it and he exploited something. So he actually found out something that Bama probably should have and could have done last year with Milrow. So now you're talking about you found something with Sellers. Now you add in those key components and those guys on the edge and the outside. It's gonna be a nightmare next year.
But don't and then let's see Sellers start slinging the rock around. Oh my God! You mean to tell me you got to still account for his feet?
Mm-hmm.
Because Schuler's already told you. He said, "I'm moving Sellers from having to run to choosing to run."
Choosing to run,
And
correct.
now
Yeah,
that he's
absolutely.
choosing to run,
Mm-hmm. Right, right,
Yeah.
right.
we'll see y'all.
50-50 now.
Hey, we'll see y'all August 31st. We'll see y'all August 31st in the Mercedes Benz.
Listen,
We'll see
if
you there.
oh, that's what the national championship is this year
No,
or
that's
next
our
year.
first game. No, that's
Yeah,
our
it's
first
next.
game. We're
Yeah,
gonna
Oh,
see
play
when we say
Virginia
V
Tech.
where,
Tech. We'll see them in
where's the?
Mercedes.
Oh, listen, I'm not even worried about Virginia Tech.
Uh, you right?
Yeah, I'm not. The ACC has no chance now to compete with the SEC because the SEC, you just okay. Just look at it like this, right? The SEC was already dominating, right? Now with NIL, you just put the SEC backs against the wall. With the portal, you putting the SEC backs against the wall because now as the SEC team, I had to worry about you taking my player at Coastal, East Carolina, these
Mm-hmm.
smaller schools. Now they were no longer they were never a threat to you at any point in time, but now these smaller schools are threats to bigger schools because okay, he might take my 5-star running back, and my five-star running back might realize, oh man, he can go to East Carolina and have 1,700 yards, and then now he's going to end up playing me because he's going to end up at Texas in another year,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yep.
now
Mm-hmm.
the strategy, the money, that dollar has to get spent even more now from any SEC team, and they're going to do it.
They're gonna do
And
it.
who got the money to do it? SEC, and I got to add the Big Ten now when
Yeah.
you add Oregon and Southern Cal.
Yep.
Right,
Facts.
the SEC, the
Facts.
Big Ten and SEC,
They got the
you're
money.
gonna see it just like it was this year. Big Ten and SEC, or Notre Dame, where you're independent. You've had so many years and run where you're independent. Don't be surprised you start seeing these schools go independent. All right, because you can be a little bit more selfish with your money, but that's another topic for another day. But yeah,
Hey, we gonna get there one day because once it drop, oh, that's gonna be a topic we finna sit here and we gonna
Hey,
talk about that one.
oh
a
for sure.
lot of stuff's about to go down, man. Revenue
Yeah.
I mean,
sharing,
just
all this other stuff, right? I
think
mean,
about these teams being able to the big thing on the floor is the revenue money, right? Imagine if these individual schools, because they're not businesses, they're not NFL owners. These are still humane people who are always thinking about families when we're talking about students,
sure.
right? So we're talking about a different culture versus Arthur Blank. I own Home Depot. So I really just, I'm thinking about how can I make sure my Home Depot business don't go out of business,
Correct.
right?
Hmm.
Versus University of South Carolina, they're thinking about how can I get more students,
Because
right?
more
Sure.
students means more revenue, and more
Correct. More
revenue.
student, yeah, more money. Because what is in every institution financial aid for any student is athletic fees.
Mm-hmm.
You got 40,000, 50,000 students go to South Carolina. Every student has to pay $500 to $1,000 in athletic fees.
Every year.
Think about that. We're talking
Yep.
about millions of dollars just from the general pop.
This is true.
And that ain't including the people that drive in for them games. That ain't
None of
including
that.
the alumni that give. Like I said, everything.
Yeah.
And what Shane showed you this year is Shane showed you I'm serious about competing. And
Mm-hmm.
all of us know that's all donors and everybody has ever wanted is we want our guy who care about our university
Right.
and is competing.
Right.
And
Right.
now that you have that, because that's the only way you survive in NIL. You can't have a coach who's looking for the next stepping stone. You got to have a coach that's invested in your school and your program.
Absolutely.
If you don't have that, look at Virginia Tech. Look at Virginia Tech.
It's true.
Yep.
Cam Chancellor and them have all said that. Bro, you have not brought in a guy that loves the school.
Yeah.
And now you stuck. So that's why I said I'm glad because one thing Shane said, he tells you all the time, I was born in South Carolina. I was born in Charleston.
Mm.
That's a facts.
His dad was the Citadel coach when he was born.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Shane's from the state.
Wow.
His dad spent most of his time in Virginia. Of course, you know he went to high school and stuff, and he went to Virginia Tech as a walk-on. But Shane is from Charleston, South Carolina.
I did not know that. What
Charleston,
the
South
world?
Carolina. Half his
Wow.
kids were born here.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Yes,
I did not
sir.
know that.
But yeah,
Wow.
man, this been great, bro. Anything else you want to tell the people, man? This been great, bro.
I mean, well, shout out to you guys, man. I really appreciate you guys for having me today. Really
Always.
appreciate you guys, man. And connecting, talking ball with you guys, man. It's been an experience. I was a little nervous at first.
Nah, man.
And look, I don't do the camera like that,
Yeah.
man. You know, I'm sending it out to all my friends all day.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, I'm gonna be on podcast today. I'm going to podcast. So, but yeah, man, I really appreciate you guys at taking your time to even want to hear me out and some of the things I have to say about the industry and football and some of these guys that I train and some of these young bucks coming out. Um, and
For sure.
for anybody's watching, anybody who looking for training, for wide receiver training, quarterback, running back training, anything, any skill development, sports performance, speed work, weight room work, anything you need football wise, whether you just want to, let's get your name out there. You can follow me on Instagram at coach_AC Whaley. That's WHALEY 11. And on Twitter, you can follow me at coach_AC Whaley. But that's it, man. I really appreciate you guys, man.
No, we appreciate you, man. No, for sure. We appreciate you. You my brother, man, and I appreciate what you're doing in the
Yeah, man.
city, bro. Anytime you know that, bro. Anytime that's going on in the city, we want people to know. We want
Oh yeah,
people to
man.
know.
Appreciate it. You guys the bomb, man.
Yeah, and this won't be the only time, man. I'm telling you, when we get closer to the season, I can't wait to get down there in a couple weeks for spring ball. I want to, like we did last year, take a really close look at what we have,
hmm
because as we both know, that's when we found out about Demetrius Knight.
Right.
You remember when he came across that middle and we said, "Hold on, whoa, hold on."
Yeah.
And this man was doing this in the spring. I'm telling y'all,
Yeah.
that's how we talked about Demetrius Knight the rest of that night, bro.
Yeah.
We saw Demetrius. That's when we learned 110% about Demetrius. Was that day. We saw Kyle. We found out about what Kyle was able. I'm
Yeah.
telling y'all right now, if you have a chance, you better get out there for that spring game.
Oh, for
If I
sure.
were you, I would get out there for that spring game. And if you want to find out what we have, you need to get out there for that spring game, because I promise you, after all the words I've heard, I know you've seen it. Hey man, this is gonna be a year. This gonna be
Oh, for sure.
it's gonna be a year
Under the lights too. At that, we talking about 7:30 under Willie B.
on the
You
Willie
know,
B lights. That's
where
all
else
I'm
would you
saying.
rather be?
That's it. That's it.
That's-
Willie B. So I'm
Yes,
looking forward
sir.
to it, and we get to it. Before the season starts, we get to talking, and we're
You
gonna
know it.
run down some stuff, man. I'm looking forward to it. So we trust me. We gonna have you back, bro. We gonna
Oh
have you
yeah.
back, brother. We gonna have
That's
you
a
back.
bet, man. That's a bet,
Yes,
man. I
sir.
appreciate you guys, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, AC, we appreciate you joining, man. Appreciate everybody listening out there live on Facebook, X, YouTube, Instagram, all the good stuff tonight. You guys can catch the replay of this episode at the Welcome H Pod on Apple and Spotify. So if you weren't able to listen in all the way, that's cool, man. We'll be able to listen to the replay tomorrow on Tuesday. It'll be airing live on at the Welcome H Pod on Apple and Spotify. You can review the show there and follow the show there, subscribe, all that good stuff. Listen to what AC said about, man, this wide receiver room and everything going on, man. There's a lot of great stuff in this episode you really, truly don't want to miss. I mean, it was a great episode.
Okay.
We will have, like I said, we will get AC back on the show, man. We absolutely will here soon. But guys, we appreciate y'all tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Peace.
Yes, sir. Peace.
Stay with us real quick, AC, so we can make sure
Okay,
it's
okay.
loaded up.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
okay, we're good.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about, man. That was good. That was good right there.
Mhm.
That was sweet.
That was it, bro. That was it.
That was it.
That was it right there, bro. I'm telling
And
you.
y'all,
We had some
and y'all
numbers.
see-
We had some numbers up there, bro. We had some numbers.
Dang.
We had
What
some
was the
numbers.
views?
We had 300 to 400 on Twitter alone. And I don't know what he do on Facebook and stuff.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I